You'll be my forever friend. This love will never end. No, nothing can come between us. No, never with you.
Are you kind or nice? And so some of the distinct differences between someone who is kind and nice, even though we use them interchangeably, is that basically the act of giving without the expectation of something in return is the true definition of kindness, right? Basically, I'm giving you something with no strings attached, no expectation. And kindness is a type of behavior marked by acts of generosity, consideration, rendering assistance or concern for others without expecting praise or reward in return. And something I really like that we talked about and we stated on the last podcast was that there's no expiration date on kindness, right? Whereas on niceness, if that is a term, or being nice, there is, right? You can just recall a kind deed that you might have done for someone in the past, and it'll automatically just increase your sense of well-being as much as, right, performing a new kind act. And I think one of the main differences, and that we definitely talked about in depth between being nice and being kind, is that when you're nice, you are basically seeking external validation from someone. So someone who's nice might not want to rock the boat, right? They might be concerned about upsetting someone. They might be concerned about being liked. A lot of people who are nice, majority of the time, can also be termed as like people pleasers. And sometimes they do lack healthy boundaries, right? Because they feel like they have to do certain things to either remain in good graces with the people that they're engaging with. They sometimes avoid uncomfortable, right, feelings or conversations because the need for validations from others won't make them want to necessarily go head on and deal with a conflict. And they also might prioritize other people's expectations of them or obligations that other people place on them before thinking about honoring themselves, and they might kind of stay in the path of least resistance rather than the path of authenticity. And so someone who's kind, the difference is that they are truth-centered, right? They care more so about what is morally right. The truth is their core thing that they're concerned about. Not afraid of addressing problems, not afraid of making waves, really focuses on being genuine and true to their self. So those are some of the differences that we talked about. And I think it's a really important conversation because I definitely in the past where you don't even know that you are, you hear the term nice and you really just think of good characteristics with it. You don't necessarily think about some of the things that I've laid out tonight and what we talked about extensively on the other podcasts. You don't think that there is a self-centeredness to it. And the self-centeredness is because the thing that is fueling your action is self-preservation, right? So if you're avoiding conflict so that you can kind of keep, what maybe that person might perceive as peace, even though it's a false peace, that's still self-preservation, right? Where they are protecting, themselves. And that protection they might interpret that as making sure that they stay in the good graces of the people that they're engaging with, or the nice act that they're doing be when they get that praise or reward or validation from the people that they do it towards, right? That also is feeding a type of self-centered nature. So it was a really good conversation. We dived, really deep in it, and hence the quote that I came up with from that podcast. That's where it came from, that the world teaches men to be kind and teaches women to be nice. And there's many research where you'll find where there are a lot of women who are unhappy in their marriages or relationships. And I said, I think that has to do a great with oftentimes the women being nice and not necessarily either taught or having the conversation between the difference between being nice and being kind, right? And oftentimes you'll find a person who is unhappy in a relationship, there is a cycle of where they're being nice, but they're not being necessarily kind to their self first, right? And then extending that kindness to others, So I guess I think of kindness as creating an authentic space that is centered around the truth, and then that truth will, right, lend itself to whatever, or that truth will be the fuel that will help you guide the actions, right, the nice acts that you would do in the relationship. So in a nutshell, we ended up understanding that you can be nice without being kind, right? You can find someone, and we also talked about in that session how kind also means not just an action that you're doing towards someone, but it's an essence, right? Like humankind, meaning like, or if you look it up in the dictionary, it talks about a kind is a certain species that have certain characteristics, certain nature, certain essence that is the same, right? Where somebody can do a nice act to you and they cannot be, a psychopath can do a nice act to you, not be of your same nature or essence at all or character. Whereas when you're looking for someone who you want to partner up with, right, that's what you're kind of looking for first. It's like, okay, the essence of this individual, the nature, the character of this individual, because anyone can observe me, anyone can hear the things that I like and reproduce those things just to make me happy, to be nice. But then in the long run, you kind of see where the relationship might falter off, because kindness is definitely necessary when you're having a long-term relationship, because life challenges are going to come, and then you find that either the two people never got into a space of kindness and they were just nice to each other. So now when the challenges of life come and kindness needs to come into play, it makes it difficult, And so either the relationship falters off or it fails.